All right, there we go. That was weird, but it worked. It works. Okay, that was cool though. All right, welcome back, everybody. I know you have missed seeing our lovely faces. Welcome back to a new episode of the Wisemen Say podcast, powered by Yamo Media. Ty Fisher alongside Gerald Lucas. My friend, how are you?
Nervous,
Felt that. Felt that.
anxious.
Felt that. We can go well.
Yeah,
Good.
went smooth. Love the fact that second place is locked up. So, 2 rounds of playoffs at home at Lower Icon Field. Gotta love it, right?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm sending a text message. I forgot to send. Um, but let's get right into it. Obviously, we had probably arguably one of the best players in the world here in Columbus. With his squad in Miami. This match was a rough one to kind of swallow. Um, Especially given the fact that you know there were shield contentions for Columbus still in play a little bit if we would have won, right?
Yeah,
Um, but things happen. Um, Obviously not in our favor. Crew lose 3-2 to Miami. Messi gets a brace. Cucho, Rossi get on the board. Luis Suarez also gets on the board. Um, Tough one to swallow because that essentially gave Miami the shield. Um, but it is what it is. I think the only thing that we can do is just go out and win the whole damn thing.
yep. I mean, it stings. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It stings because you could say Drew Fisher, blatantly missed some calls. Um, it wasn't consistent because if Camacho's was a second yellow, then damn sure, Busquets was a red, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
But you can't blame the official the official has maybe like 35% of the blame, right? Maybe 40. Let's say 40%. You had another 40% with mistakes, and 20% was not finishing chances when you had them.
Yeah.
So all in all, like Columbus was winning.
Yeah.
Like in the first half before that challenge to Farsi, Columbus had 3 or 4 good shots on target. Well, not on target, but shots that just went by, or Drake Calendar, made a last second save, or whatnot, right?
Hmm.
So you have 20% of the game that you didn't finish on chances. 40% the ref not being consistent, missing calls on both teams. I'm not going to sit there and say, missed all the calls that, all the dirty calls Miami should have got, right? But it was missed calls on both teams. And 40% of mistakes, turnovers, you know, communication. Yeah, it gets loud in there.
It does.
So for all y'all saying it was the jackhammer's fault, it wasn't the jackhammer's fault. We just scored. So the cheering and everything hadn't settled down yet. So needless to say, uh, there, just the turnovers, mistakes, bad communication the crew beat the crew.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take too much away from Inter Miami, but Inter Miami didn't beat Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the fact that going into the death of the match, Columbus still had a chance to tie.
Yeah.
When you've seen other teams go down 2-0, 3-1, or even 3-0 to Inter Miami and they fold. They fold. Cucho gets that one header off of or no, it wasn't a header. Was it? No, it was the PK.
What the
Cucho.
second PK?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he gets the second PK, and now everybody's like, let's go. And then, they get another PK. And, credit Drake Callender, right? He saw how Cucho went the first time. They put him up there, to take the second PK. And Drake Callender was like, look, you got me the first time. You're not going to get me the second.
Yeah.
And that just goes from studying, on the go, flash, a player's tendencies. Maybe he's had some film study of, hey, if we do have PKs, this is what Cucho likes to do, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that Cucho tried to go to the well a second time to the same side, you know what I'm saying? Credit Drake Callender, but also, like I said, Columbus beat Columbus.
Yeah, we did.
Columbus beat Columbus, not taking away anything from Messi, greatest player of all time. And the fact that it took him so long in the first half to even get a shot on goal, credit that midfield.
Yeah, and defending too.
And the defenders. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? The back line.
Yeah.
Credit that.
I think Amundsen and Arson did a very good job at limiting him when they had the opportunity to. I think it's just more so, the changing point in that match was that Busquets Farsi coming together. And I mean, it's it's a 50-50 ball. Yeah, he gets there first, but it's just so it's night and day as opposed to what's a red card in MLS anymore, right?
Yeah, I mean
A
it's
studs up challenge into the inner thigh, straight leg, pretty much. If that's not serious foul play or endangering the safety of the opponent, I don't know what is. But a reckless challenge. I think we can both agree Camacho should have been smarter on that. He's
yes.
already on a yellow. He should have been smarter. You don't put in that type of challenge when you're on a yellow.
But also at the same time though, right? If you're a player out there, especially in the first half, and you see the official not calling those types of challenges, now you're like, okay, this is how, this is how we have to play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If he's not going to call that if he's not going to do a straight red for Busquets or minimum a yellow, for Busquets, then, regardless if I'm on a yellow or not, this is how I need to play against them because they're playing that way towards us. And I've said it in several games, you have to fight fire with fire.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to play that dirty, I'm not saying the crew needed to get down and dirty like that, but tiptoe across the aggressive line. You know what I'm saying? And that's what Camacho did. And then That's where I hate when officials have the decision. They have the power to change the game,
Yeah.
right? If you're not going to be consistent in the first half and call that, why call it in the second half?
But at the same time, nothing in that challenge would have been a yellow card. Nothing in that Busquets challenge sees yellow. That's straight red no matter what. Now, if Drew Fisher sets the bar for a red card here, then Camacho does not get sent off. Right? Not everything is fine. Camacho doesn't get sent off. Now, on the flip side of things, I think Miami should have been down to 9 in the first half. They should have been there should have been 2 red cards. And that's even with considering Busquets possibly getting a red, right?
Yep.
Because I don't see how Federico Redondo gets away. I mean, yeah, a foul's called. We'll take the foul, yes. But not really stomping, but going in with Nagby turning away from him and stepping on the back of his Achilles warrants a yellow because that's just reckless. It was not. It's not even reckless. It's just you're just doing it just to do it. It's yeah, it's reckless.
And
That's
I mean, he wasn't making a play for the ball.
no, not at all.
You know,
So you get Federico Redondo on a yellow for that. Then you get Busquets on the red on the challenge on Farsi. So now Miami has to be careful with playing down to 10 men. Then you get Columbus gets a free kick, and off that free kick, Redondo fouls Morera, and that's a yellow. So that should have been his second yellow. So now Miami's down to 9. I think Columbus, as Connor said, we could have gotten out of a 3-3. We probably could have gotten out of that with a 4-3, 5-3, 5-4 win, to be quite honest. So it's one thing I always say, I've said this plenty of times before. I think it's one thing to watch games and a team is doing really well against Miami and somehow, some way, just something just isn't right at all, and then Miami ends up winning, and it's tough to be like, yeah, whatever, this should have happened, this should have happened, this should have happened, as a third party, as like a neutral viewer, right? But when you are there in the flesh and you're watching this happen, it's hard to not, you know,
throw
think
the
in your
10,
head like
throw the tinfoil hat on.
this is, come on now. We have to be a lot smarter than this. We have to be a lot smarter of what is at stake here. And I gave Drew Fisher tons of praise on Battered Herons show last Tuesday. I gave him tons of credit. He's one of the best officials that in of the year so far. One of the
Not
top
after in a
officials.
Miami game.
And then that happens. I'm like, I put in our group chat, I rescind every good thing I said about Drew Fisher that night, Tuesday night.
He's up for referee of the year.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. Drew Fisher is a good referee. He is. But there's that glaring game right there, especially that's going to be stuck in the back of crew fans' minds that that was probably the worst officiating game ever. That made Sergio Boyko's New York City FC game look like a piece of cake, honestly.
Yeah.
How many times did Messi get booed? I don't think Messi.
He got booed.
But it wasn't as much as I thought it'd be.
Because he hurried up. Well, because crew fans were sitting there cheering for Messi also.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on that.
That's a story for another day.
Yeah. But needless to say, like, okay, I'm fine with crew, losing, right?
Yeah, I'm fine with them losing, because
what I'm not fine with is the fact that you wait 24 hours afterwards and say, Inter Miami is going to have the last Club World Cup spot. Like we all knew that.
Don't believe it. Don't believe that.
Okay.
Don't believe that. So I'll text you after the show about that.
Okay.
So I mean, if it's true, it sucks. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, I mean, what can we really do? I think we just have to go out and win the whole damn thing.
I think if we go out and win back-to-back championships, it's going to be kind of hard. Well, not really, because I mean you're going up against Messi, but you know what I'm saying. It's kind of the proof is in the pudding. Like you got a team back-to-back champions versus Messi. You would think you'd want the back-to-back MLS champions.
Yeah,
but it's Garber, so it is what it is.
However, I think that loss kind of fueled the fire a little bit for our match against Philadelphia. And for that, we bring in the Free Kick Pod own Todd Lewis, who made the trip from Maryland. And for some reason, I always thought you were in Philadelphia, Chester area, dude. Always thought that. So for that, we bring in Todd, who made the way from Maryland to cover the Union and Crew match. Todd, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. Enjoying the show so far, guys. I want to jump in here real quick, though.
Yeah.
You guys, I mean, listening to you guys talk about the Inter Miami game, I watching the Crew multiple times this season, yes, including all 3 games against the Union. I think Columbus is the best team still in MLS. I don't think Inter Miami is any match for them. I mean, I'm always amazed every single time that I watch Diego Rossi, Cucho Hernandez, and Christian Ramirez. I mean, the interchange between those 3 guys and that back line of Inter Miami is shaky. And I think as this season goes on, I mean, yes, I know Busquets, Messi, Suarez have played in bigger games than MLS playoff games and everything, but let's face it, right? I mean, the more games these guys put on their legs, they're going to struggle, I think, come playoff time. And you have a team that knows what it takes to grind out results in the playoffs. You have a team that all they do is reach finals under Wilfred Nancy. Yeah, I think Columbus Crew are the best team in MLS. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a rematch of last year's final between LAFC and Columbus Crew again. Though I would say, pay attention to LA Galaxy. I think what Galaxy are doing this season has been fantastic under Greg Vanney. But yeah, Columbus Crew, you guys shouldn't be scared of Miami.
I don't think we're scared of Miami. I think it's more so the fact that
the officials.
Why does it have to be Miami doing this to almost every team in the league? Right? I mean, because you look at Columbus's past results against Miami. A 2-1 loss in Miami without Messi. A 3-2 comeback win in the League's Cup to send us to the League's Cup semifinals. Come from behind. I think 66 minutes they were outplaying us 2-0, and we scored 3, and then a 3-2 loss again to Miami. I mean, both the games before Wednesday, Columbus absolutely played the best of their ability. It's just again got shot ourselves in the foot in Miami, and then an absolute pulled a magic rabbit out of a hat in League's Cup, and then I think we kind of shot ourselves in the foot. I think Cujo kind of thought he was going to get that second PK and make it, but again, Calendar made some great saves. It's just we know we can beat Miami. We know for a fact we can beat Miami 100%.
And Columbus is still the number 1 team in CONCACAF.
Hey, I'll take that any day. The power rankings mean nothing. But now we shift to Saturday. A very interesting match, I would say. With second place on the cusp of Columbus's hands, Philly trying to find their way into the playoff race. I think you know a lot more about that than I do. Just general thoughts about this match, Todd. What was your consensus?
Yeah, I don't think this was a 3-2 scoreline type of game. I think very easily, I think this game could have been 2-1. You look at all the set piece goals scored in this game. Philadelphia scored a set piece goal with Nathan Harriel. Jack Elliott shoots a ball under the wall. Ball gets deflected out to Nathan Harriel, doesn't get closed down, and then shoots it past Schulte's far post. You look at the two set piece goals that the Union gave up on corner kicks to Cucho Hernandez. The Union coming into this game had only given up 7 set piece goals, and they were one of the best teams in not conceding off of set pieces. And Cucho Hernandez, Jim Curtin talked about it after the game. He's small, yes, but he's one of the best jumpers and timing of his runs. And Nathan Harriel, who I would argue is the Union's best 1v1 defender. He was playing in that zonal marking in the left side of the post, and he gets beat twice by Cucho Hernandez. You had Denley John Jock man marking Cucho. He loses him on the first goal, and then Alejandro Bedoya loses him on the second goal. And so that means that it's up to Nathan Harriel to protect that zonal side on the left-hand side. And yeah, he got beat by Cucho. So you look at the type of goals that both teams conceded in this game, I think, it's uncharacteristic. And then the second goal that Philadelphia scored with Jack McGlynn, a terrible mistake there by AZ, and he gets substituted out, tries to flick it by Kai Wagner. And yeah, I mean, I respect that by Wilfried Nancy for disciplining him, saying, hey, look, we can't have that in these type of games. And I think he'll learn from that moment. But that was a gift that the Union got. And so I think that looking at this game, yes, I think Columbus were the better team. And the one thing that impressed me so much about this game is the Philadelphia Union are a team that likes to attack down the right side of the field. They heavily favor that right side. Coming into this game, the Union had about 45% of their attacks coming down the right-hand side. I'll have to look up the number exactly, but for this game, they had 61%. And so what that tells me right there, both of the Union's chances came down the left-hand side where they're much better at the attacking with Kai Wagner. He leads the team in assists. And so you had Daniel Gazdag sprinting down the left side. He gets fouled. That leads to the free kick that Jack Elliott took, that Nathan Harriel scored. And then right towards the end of the game, where this game really could have been 3-3, where Kai Wagner sends in a cross to Daniel Gazdag at the back post in the 88th minute, and Daniel Gazdag can't put that one on target. And so that's 2 huge chances by the Union on the left-hand side. One of them they convert, the other one that they completely miss. And Columbus knew that. So they said, you know what, we're going to force everything down the right-hand side. I was so impressed with how they took out Mikael Uward, Ty Baribo, and Daniel Gazdag, forcing them into their own half to get onto the ball. I mean, they were playing a high line, high press, and the Union for a majority of that game had no answer for that. And so this wasn't a great game by the Philadelphia Union. These players did not have a response to the goal they gave up in the 3rd minute. They struggled with ideas, how to break down this Columbus team. And that's something that we've seen 3 times now this season. And it's a lot of fans in Philadelphia were upset how this game went in Chester, where the Union lost 1-0 because you guys heavily rotated your squad. And then you guys bring off all your difference makers off the bench. And you know what? They make a difference. And I'm not surprised that the game went the way that they did. And for me, yes, I think Cucho Hernandez is going to get all the accolades for scoring the 2 goals, but I think Darlington Nagbe, I mean, what an unsung hero. I mean, completely man-marked Daniel Gazdag out of this game. And when the Union weren't starting Jack McGlynn, who is a playmaker, you start Danley John Jock and Leon Flock, who are in there to provide stability defensively. They're not going to create much for you offensively. So that meant that the Union are really going to go with Kai Wagner, who was shut down for most of the game, and Daniel Gazdag, who was completely taken out of this game. And so it resulted in the Union just playing long balls over the top, and Columbus's center backs dealt with that with ease.
So, I asked Nancy during media availability on Friday, about Jim Curtin and the 4-4-2 diamond. And, pretty much what, Nancy's response is, it's hard to defend against that. But I think, you touched on it, how Columbus made the Union, their front line go all the way to the back just to start, the run. Needless to say on that, the chess match between those two, Nancy and Curtin, can you touch on that?
You broke up a little bit there. You said the chess match between Nancy and Curtin. Is that what you said?
Yeah, because it stems all the way back to Montreal.
Yeah, it does. Where Jim Curtin's actually had his number, and then you look at what he's done with Columbus. It seems like the Union really don't have, especially this season, really don't have a plan how to figure out that front three. And I think that's what makes the difference. And I talked about it on my show, the latest episode. I've talked about it on the past when these two teams have met. The difference maker is the front three of Columbus, and particularly Diego Rossi and Cucho Hernandez. The Union don't have players that can deal with them. We saw in the 3-1 defeat at lower.com in the League's Cup, Jack McGlynn started that game and he could not mark Diego Rossi whatsoever. And so I think, the Union really struggle with quick attackers that are going to play give and go passes that are going to continue to interchange. And so that's part of the reason why we saw Leon Flock and Daniel John Jock start this game, to provide stability back there to that back line. And well, Jim Curtin said after the game, once you concede so early in the game, that game plan goes out of the window. And so I think at parts in this game, the Union did a good job keeping Diego Rossi quiet, but I said something to Ty and Jillian and Kyle Almany, who also came up from the Philadelphia market to cover this game. I said, the Union are doing a good job to keep Diego Rossi quiet. Well, all it took was one moment, one chance. He sneaks in behind the back line. Andre Blake comes up with a big save, and then the Union aren't able to clear the rebound, and you have Farsi putting the ball in the back of the net. That's typical Columbus Crew soccer right there, where they just interchange guys. I believe Cucho Hernandez started on the left side of the field. It's a throw in, and then they switch the ball all the way over to the right. You have that overlap by Herrera, and the Union, they got called out by that. And so I wasn't surprised by that, because watching this team all season long, it's little mistakes like that every single game where they get beat 1v1 defensively. And so I wouldn't say it was too much of a chess match between these two teams. I would say it was more so a typical Philadelphia Union performance we've seen this year. 11 now times this season that we've seen the Union lose 1-goal games, where that wasn't the case last year. The Union were winning these games with ease, and now for whatever reason, well, I know part of the reason it's, they need a revamp of this back line. They just had no answer for the interchange between the front three. And so when you can rely on that, I think you're going to hurt teams. And it's the same thing that happened against Orlando City coming into this game. The Union had no answer for Duncan McGuire, for Luis Muriel, for Facundo Torres, guys that just ran past the back line with ease, just that quick passing. And the Union really struggle against teams that play that way. And Columbus is the best in the league at playing that way.
Really quick before I let you answer this question, Todd, I think the biggest thing that surprised me was Baribo barely was a factor of any type of thing, whether it's playmaking, goal scoring. I mean, he was probably one of the most underrated goal scorers this season for the Union, but it was just a ghost out there pretty much. I barely saw him on the ball or anything like that. Is that something that is concerning for the Union, especially against a good team like Columbus, or is that to be kind of expected against the reigning MLS Cup champions?
Yeah, I mean, it's 3 games now in a row that the Union's front three, Mikel Uwer, Ty Baribo, and Daniel Gazdag haven't scored in. I mean, Jim Curtin says it all the time that, when these guys get hot, they're hot. When they get cold, they're cold. And so that's the life of a striker. And so Ty Baribo, for Columbus fans that aren't aware, he was getting no game time when Julian Carranza was at the club. And then the Union sold Carranza this summer to Feyenoord, and Ty Baribo finally got his chance and really started to make his name for himself in League's Cup, scoring brace after brace after brace, won the Golden Boot in League's Cup. And the Union had brought Ty Baribo in last August and really found game time hard to come by. And it took Julian Carranza to get sold to really see what they have. And what they have is a guy who scores for fun, or that's what it seemed like for the second half of the season until you get to these last 3 games. So I wouldn't say it's a concern. I would just say that, this team is really what they are. And, they struggle to create chances. Ty Baribo coming into this game, it seemed like whatever you create for him puts the ball in the back of the net, but the Union hardly created anything in this game. And Columbus, as you guys know, are a team that really don't give oppositions too many chances. It's like, okay, once you break down them defensively, which is really, really hard to do, you better capitalize on that chance. And the Union couldn't do that coming into the game. I don't have the number in front of me, but it was something like Daniel Gazdag had 17 touches inside the Union's defensive half. Ty Baribo had like 7, and that's not where you want your 2 attacking players taking touches. You don't want them to take touches in their attacking half, and that's a credit to Columbus's back line for playing that high line, for pressing, and really making it difficult for the Union's front 3 to get onto the ball. Ty Baribo finished the game, and mind you, all 3 of the Union's front 3 players played 90 minutes. Mikhail, 30 touches in this game. Ty Baribo, 26 touches in the game. Daniel Gazdag, 36 touches. That's not enough. And like I said, I mean, the Union, they do play a lot of long balls, but I feel like this game, they played a lot more long balls than what they typically do because, they had no answers to breaking down Columbus through the middle. And a big part of that was because of Darlington Nagbe taking Daniel Gazdag out of the game completely. And so you take Daniel Gazdag out of this game, a guy who's going to play these short passes forward to the 2 front 2, now you just got to chuck the ball up and hope that one of your 2 forwards can beat the opposition to the ball. And more times than not, that wasn't the case.
Really quick, if you want to answer that, Manuel says Wiseman and Glenn not starting for the Union. I would take him at Columbus. Why isn't he starting? Is there a piece ahead of him that's producing more? What's the case there?
No, he's starting. This was the only game that he hadn't started in.
Okay.
And so, I mean, it just made sense. Jim Curtin said they wanted to go with players that were athletic and physical, and Jack McGlynn's neither one of those. So it was a tactical thing. That's why Jack McGlynn didn't start this game.
Okay. Now looking at the playoff picture for the Union, obviously it's a win. I heard you, Kyle, Jill, and I think it was your radio guy.
Yeah, Dave Leno.
Talking about it, the Charlotte match and something else that may have been an indicator that if a good result happened against Columbus, you guys would have been in the playoffs. What's the playoff picture looking like for you guys?
Yeah, so we were watching the Toronto versus Inter Miami game, and Miami did the Union a solid, beating Toronto, which meant that the Union couldn't be eliminated on that night. And so the Union needed to get a win against Columbus, and then they also needed a loss by either Montreal or DC United to clinch the playoff spot that night, which meant that the Cincinnati game wasn't going to matter. Well, as we all know, the Union lose. And so now the playoff picture looks like the Union must win. The playoff picture is completely out of their hands, so they have to win. That's a minimum. And then they have to go and either hope for a DC United loss or a CF Montreal loss. If both of those teams draw, then the Union aren't in the playoffs. The good thing is that these 2 teams play against Charlotte and New York City, and both of those teams already secured their spot in the playoffs. But depending on how the games go, they could go higher seed or lower seed. So both of those teams, Charlotte and New York City, have something to play for. And as Jim Curtin joked after the game, this is the first time that the Union can be okay with cheering for New York City. They're fans of New York City, because we all know that Philadelphia and New York fans do not get along. But in this case, the Union are hoping for a win by New York City.
I don't know if you watched. I don't know if you're familiar with Scarfs and Spikes, the Atlanta United people. But I went to a. I stayed with some friends in Lancaster, PA. And we went to a Union Red Bulls game, and I sat with the Red Bull supporters. And first of all, I want to say I do not like how they have the away supporters right next to the Sons of Ben. It's so weird. But I got hit in the head with a hot dog, and from somebody over in the Sons of Ben, and I'm like, I'm not even. I'm just here. I'm just having a good time. Just absolute wiener, just absolutely just hits me in the head, and I said, okay, well then. But yeah, I was like, okay. I always thought that was weird how they have the away supporters next to the home supporters.
Yeah, it's calling for trouble, right? I mean, we've had issues with New York City in the past, and whenever we have games against New York City, DC United, New York Red Bulls, there always tends to be a lot more security over in that section. So that game where you got hit with a hot dog, and maybe there wasn't a lot of security for that game, but typically there are, and there has been issues in the past between the 2 supporters groups. But yeah, it's weird. But if you look how Subaru Park's constructed, there really is no place else where you could put your your away supporters, because if you put them anywhere else, it's all like family-friendly section seating, and
Yeah.
I know in front of this away supporter section, it's family-friendly down there too. So yeah, it's difficult with the way that Subaru Park's been constructed, where you're going to put the away fans. But yeah, putting them next to the Union's supporters group, yeah, that's going to cause issues. I mean, can you imagine if they put FC Cincinnati fans next to
Next to the
Nordeca?
Nordeca?
Yeah.
That would be
Jesus
brutal.
Christ.
That would be
You need
brutal. Well,
SWAT team.
yeah. I mean, you'd have mounted patrol, you'd have SWAT, you might have to call the
National Guard.
National Guard and whatnot. But for context, when I went to that game, it was 2016. So
wow.
it was, yeah, was it 2016? 2016, I think it was. Yeah. So it was right after Crew won MLS Cup or lost MLS Cup in 2015. And on the back of that, it was just horrible. But anyway, so you need a win next weekend.
Yep.
Pretty much.
It's
That's
quite,
all you need.
it's quite possible.
You need a win, and then you need either a DC United or a Montreal loss. And Montreal's against New York City, and then you have Charlotte facing off against DC United. So, I mean, it's possible, but
Yeah.
I was on another podcast earlier today, and they asked me what I thought was going to happen against Cincinnati, and I said, it's going to be a typical Union where one of those teams lose, and then the Union don't take care of business. And I don't think the Union make the playoffs at all. If you guys were going to ask me that, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead, but I see the Union honestly just getting a draw against Cincinnati. They've really struggled this season at Subaru Park. They have more wins on the road than they do at home, which is so unheard of in this league. And especially when you look at the Union the last 5-6 years, where it didn't matter what competition it was, they did not lose at Subaru Park. And this year, 7 losses in MLS this season. Yeah, it's not been good enough for them at home.
I mean, you guys are taking on an FC Cincinnati team that has fallen off. If you just look at the numbers, so I mean, it's like it's sort of a duplicate of how Philly's been. Just a drop off, right? But I like you guys' chances though against them, and is that Charlotte game for Montreal? Is that in Montreal or is it in Charlotte?
Yeah, so it's CF Montreal versus New York City, and then it's DC United at home versus Charlotte. So both of the teams that the Union need to lose, both games are at their home. So Montreal's at home, and then DC United's at home. So yeah, it's going to be difficult for one of those teams to get an upset.
My last question, I know before Ty. So with all the changes that Philly did, getting rid of Carranza and a couple other players, what's it gonna take for the Union to get back to that being the Union again?
Preferably the 2020, was it 2021?
Yeah, 2021, 2022 when they reached MLS Cup.
Yeah. Or when they won this, was it 2020 they won the Shield?
Yep, 2020 they won the Shield.
Okay, yeah. So that era of the Union, I would add.
So how much time do we have? Do we have
you're fine. You're fine.
All right. So I've said this so many times. I just talked about it on my podcast, and I know this is a Columbus Crew podcast, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but Columbus is a small market compared to Philadelphia. Philadelphia is arguably a top 5 sports market in the entire country. When you look, they're 5 for 5. They have baseball, they have football, they have hockey, they have basketball, they have soccer. 5 major sports, in Columbus, only 2, hockey and soccer. And yeah, I know you could throw Ohio State in there, but they're not professional. I mean, I know it's close, but the people in Columbus care more about Ohio State than they do, I would say, the Blue Jackets in the Crew. But you look at Philadelphia, I mean, this is a major sports market, and the Union are acting like a market like Columbus, while Columbus is acting like a Philadelphia market. I mean, look at them. They go out and spend close to $10 million to bring in Cucho Hernandez, $6 million to bring in Diego Rossi. They go and spend, I forget the number for Lucas Zelarayan when he was at the club. But that's what the Union need to do. And they have one of the cheapest owners in MLS. And yes, maybe it shouldn't be a surprise that the Haslams own Columbus Crew. They have more money than Jay Sugarman. Yes, they own an NFL team, and so they will spend if they need to spend. And that's not really the case with the Union. But Columbus have set this thing up so perfectly. And I believe we were talking about this, Gerald, where it was Tim Bashbis, how do you say his last name?
Bezbachenko.
He's the one who set this roster up. So he goes and gets your star players and Cucho Hernandez and Diego Rossi. And then you fill the rest of this roster up with Columbus 2 guys. You set it up with guys you drafted from the MLS Super Draft. You draft, you sign players to homegrown contracts. And so that's exactly what the Union should do. They have the homegrown contract part, right? They brought in a couple people for the front office that are really, really good with the Super Draft. So I would expect the Union to focus more on that in the offseason under Ernst Tenner, their sporting director. He's thought the whole super draft's a joke just because he's like, these kids that are in college, when they're done with their career, they're going to be so far behind everybody else that's been at the club for a while. And he's like, he would rather have the players that are young. Well, look at Columbus Crew. That's proven to be a lie. And this team is what the Philadelphia Union should be. And they should be investing money in star players in the attack. And 2.8 million is the highest transfer fee ever that the Union have paid for Mikel Uwa. And a lot of Union fans are upset with the production that you got out of Mikel Uwa. 9 goals, I believe, this season in MLS. Maybe it's 10 now. But regardless, fans are expecting a lot more from him when you're paying him over $2 million a year, when you paid $2.8 million for him. He's the highest DP. But my argument for that would be that's a low-end DP when you look around the league. Like I said, around $9 million for Cucho, $6 million for Diego Rossi. Those are DP numbers, and that's what typical teams around MLS pay. And look at the production you got out of Diego Rossi. Look at the production you got to get out of Cucho Hernandez. And so I think for what you pay to get Mikel Uwa for, I think he's giving you exactly what you paid for it. But because 2.8 million is the highest transfer fee that the Union have ever paid, of course the expectations from the fans are going to be higher than what they should be. And so I would love the Union to sit down and say, we need to be like Columbus Crew. And I think more teams in MLS will say, look what they've done. They've invested in cheap talent, and look at the guys that they brought in for TAM. The way that they constructed that back line, none of those players are superstars, right? And this Union team, you were talking about it, Ty, since 2020, this team from 2020 to 2024, majority of these players have been here for 4 or 5 seasons. And that's not typical in MLS. We see teams blow up the roster every 2 years, I want to say. LA Galaxy, I feel like the last year, and now look for them. One of the worst teams last year, now one of the best in the Western Conference. And so when fans saw that the Union kept running it back and they got so close to winning MLS Cup in 2022, losing to LAFC, and they decided, let's run it back again with the same squad. We're like, okay, they were close. Let's see if they can bring in new players to push them over the edge. That didn't really happen. They brought in 2023 Andres Pereira from Orlando City, Damian Lowe from Inter Miami, and Joaquin Torres from CF Montreal. That was your big moves. Then the summertime hits, and you bring in low-level guys from places in Africa, from Europe, nobody's ever heard of. You bring in Ty Baribo, who didn't sniff any game time last season because of Julian Kranza. And then the club says, you know what, we're going to run it back with the same squad again. And people knew, fans knew, people in the media knew that last season should have been the end. I mean, honestly, 2022, after they reached MLS Cup, they couldn't beat LAFC. They should have blew up the roster then, brought in a lot more players than what they did. They decided, you know what, this team's good enough. We know what it takes to get to MLS Cup now. We're going to get there. It doesn't happen in 2023. They keep the squad intact again for 2024. And it's like, you can't have that. You've always got to be changing your roster because that's what teams do in MLS. And the Union, I hope this offseason that they will blow up this roster. They have a lot of players out of contract. Leon Flock, he's available on a free. He doesn't qualify for MLS free agency. I know Jim Curtin talked about it's a high priority for the club to bring Leon Black back, but he's talked about wanting to go back to Germany. That's where he's from. Play in the Bundesliga potentially. Sam Adeniran, who the Union brought in this summer from St. Louis, his contract's up. I don't expect the club to bring him back. They have a whole bunch of players that have options. Alejandro Bedoya, club captain. He's also a free agent. He says he wants to play one more season. Jim Curtin would be open to bringing him back again. But you let's say the Union bring back Leon Flock. Let's say that they keep Jack McGlynn. Jack McGlynn was very, very close this summer to getting sold, and the Union couldn't work out a deal for him. And so I expect interest to still be there in the wintertime. And I'd be shocked if Jack McGlynn starts the season with the Philadelphia Union in 2025 just because of the interest from Europe. And he's a player that, helped raise his stock at the Olympics, scoring a goal, I believe, for the U.S. And so, or getting assists, it was. And
Yeah.
so there's a young player that's only going to get better, and his time's coming, leaving MLS. And so let's say that Jack McGlynn somehow, some way stays with the Union for another season. Liam Flock resigns with the Union. In my opinion, you still need another number 8. And if Alejandro Bedoya leaves, I would say you need 2 number 8s. And the one thing Jim Curtin said, we started Danley John Jock, we started Liam Flock because we needed that athleticism, we needed that quickness, we needed that physicality. That's what the Union need more of in that midfield, because without that, you are going to struggle. This league is getting faster and faster. Look at the attacking players that keep joining. You need another center back because you sold Damian Lowe. You talked about the changes they had this offseason, Gerald. Julian Kranza sold to Feyenoord. They brought in Sam Adeniran to see what he is. I fully expect the Union to go out and get another striker. That's not going to be Sam Adeniran. You'd never replace Jose Martinez, which was a big hole for the Union, one of the best 6s in MLS. So, I mean, they got a lot of work to do this offseason. And I think the fan base in Philadelphia, yes, the Union are theoretically still in contention to make the playoffs, but I think this fan base is just ready for the offseason hit and see exactly what the Union do. The comment there said someone get Tall on the phone and make Philly an offer from McGlynn. Absolutely will not sell Jack McGlynn. It's not going to happen. Jack McGlynn, I mean, he's a player that knows his time's coming to go to Europe. He's talked plenty of wanting to play in Europe. I mean, he's like Aiden Morris, right?
Yeah.
You guys knew the day was coming where he was going to go to Europe, and they eventually got an offer from Middlesbrough that was too good to turn down, and that's exactly what's going to happen with Jack McGlynn. So I would be shocked if he winds up going to Columbus Crew or anywhere else in MLS.
I yearn for the day that, not really yearn for the day, but I do not want the day to come where Patrick Schulte and Cucho Hernandez are just absolutely on the next red eye flight out to France, Spain, England, Germany, wherever they go. Because I know that day is coming, right? They're too good players to not, especially Cucho. Cucho is just too good of a player to not have another spell in Europe. Now, whether it's Liga, whether it's La Liga, whether it's the championship, I could see him going to Borough with Morris, but I would say he's probably championship level, like who just got relegated from the Prem, Luton Town type striker. He could be the golden boot for EFL championship. He's just so good, and it's not going to be a low ball offer, right? People call me crazy. I'm saying 25 mil plus, maybe. People call me crazy. You're like, oh, there's no way Cucho's 25 mil. I'm like, his actually probably kind of is right now, the way he's putting up MVP numbers. So I do not want that data. I do not want that. You said what?
He wins MVP and Columbus wins in back-to-back titles. It's no less than 25.
He's gone in the winter. Yeah. Todd, last question. This is kind of a fun one. I told you a yellow card and a red card of the week, right? So basically what that is it does not have to be soccer related at all. It can be something small like the weather outside, or Chipotle messing up your food if you eat Chipotle. So a yellow card is something you don't like, but you can tolerate. And a red card is something you absolutely despise. You want nothing to do with it. You hate it. So for the week, or for the weekend, I should say, what would be your yellow card and red card?
That had just happened. Oh, this is easy. So yellow card, I would say, the prices of getting a hotel last minute, not fun, but that's anything, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, I went with Kyle and Jillian and Albany, and so we split the hotel costs. But it's like, man, I waited way too long. I should have booked a hotel or an Airbnb a lot sooner. I had this flight booked for a while to Columbus, but it's like I kept pushing it off to get a hotel or something. And so yeah, that price wasn't great. And so then I flew into Columbus on Saturday and got there around 1 p.m. Flew out on Sunday at 7 a.m. And I kid you not. So all you guys, I'm sure, have been in the airport in Columbus. And
Yeah.
so the terminals aren't big there, and there's not a lot of seating area in the gates. And so I was shocked by the amount of people that were there that early in the morning. And there wasn't many open seats. So I find an open seat. This guy, I kid you not, 5 seconds of me sitting down, he comes over and says, "Excuse me, you're in my grandson's seat. You got to get up. That's his seat." And I'm looking around. I'm like, there's nothing here in this seat. And he is right in my face. And I'm like, it is way too early in the morning for you to being this hostile. It's like his granddaughter was sitting next to this bag where apparently the dad was sitting, but he put his bag there to hold his seat. And this girl was no older than 3 years old. And so I got to imagine the grandson wasn't much older. And so I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you can't just hold him in your lap. Like, he doesn't need a seat. Like, come on, relax now. Like, these kids are full of energy. They're going to be wanting to run around the airport. But this guy's like, yeah, you got to leave now. You got to move. That's my grandson's seat. I'm like, whatever, man. Like, I'm sitting there. I'm trying to write my show notes and everything. And this guy's like just staring me down. And I see it all out of the corner of my eye. And I'm like, oh, great. Here we go. Excuse me. That's my grandson's seat. You got to leave. That's his seat. I'm like, whatever, man. Like, it's too early for that. So that's my red card. I hope he's listening to the podcast, by the way.
Imagine that. That's crazy. Well, sorry you had to interact with Columbus people at 7:00 in the morning. Jesus Christ. Oh, here we go. This
Hey, no.
this one. No yellow card?
The yellow card would be the hotel.
The hotel.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
I can tolerate that because it's my fault for waiting last minute to book someplace. But
yeah.
Definitely to somebody getting in my face like, come on now, what are we doing? It's a seat.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, if you ever come back to Columbus, just let me know. I can get you a discounted room, buddy. I got you.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
good hotel too.
Knowing how cheap I was able to get the flight and really do that 2 months before I flew out there. I mean, I was like, okay, I can make this trip. It's a short flight out there, 15 minutes. So yeah, maybe I will take advantage of going to Columbus yearly if I can get a good deal on flights.
Hey man, so let me know. You know how to hit me up. Yeah.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Let me go. And I think your fans would appreciate this. And I'm not saying this just because I'm on a Columbus Crew podcast, but lower.com over at TQL Stadium by far.
Hey, let's go.
100%. 100%. See, Todd, you're welcome back anytime.
As long as you bring Phillies.
They might not be good by the time he lands in Columbus.
Hey, I got a microwave.
That's fair. Todd, where can the kind people find you at? Yeah,
they can go ahead and find me on social media on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook by following at Free Kick Pod. If you want to check out my personal feed, it's at It's a Todd's Life on Twitter, at It's a Todd's Life _ on Instagram. Go ahead and get the podcast wherever you check out your podcast by searching The Free Kick. And then check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/freekickpod, where every single game, whether it's a win, lose, or draw for the Union, I break down goals. I have not done my Columbus Crew game yet. I'll do that once we get off here. But yeah, it's a lot of fun just reviewing the game film and looking down the plays that the Union scored off of, that they conceded off of, some chances that they created, some chances that they gave up. And so if you guys like that type of content, check it out on YouTube. I recently just canceled my subscription with the people I was hosting live streaming through. So StreamYard, you're going to pick up my business. I see that's who you guys are using. So I do live stream the day after the game, but the last couple of streams I've been really, really bad with lag and whatnot. So last night I was like, I'm done. And so I got my money back. And so I'll kick up the live streams starting next week or whatever with StreamYard. So it'll take a little bit of a learning curve, because looking at how you guys have the studio set up, this is pretty cool with Crew versus Union with Todd Lewis down there. And then showing where you guys can find everybody in the yellow brick wall. Yeah, it's all pretty cool. So if you can help me, any help that would be appreciated. And then if you guys want to check out everything in one place, and I do some writing too, you can look at my Substack, thefreekick.substack.com. And that's pretty much everything. So I appreciate you, Ty. I appreciate you, Gerald, for having me on. And it was a pleasure meeting both of you guys. Like I said, I mean, Lower.com field, fantastic stadium. I was a little salty coming out of the elevator, and it makes you look at the trophies. And I'm like, man, of course, this hurts. It's like, just rub it in our faces, rub it into our faces. But it's a class organization there in Columbus. I mean, looking at how you guys run it, well, how the team runs it with the front office. And I was shocked to learn that there's only 3 of you guys that cover this team full time. And I think that's the case around MLS. I mean, I don't know how many games you guys get to away games, but I see this all the time when I go to the opposition's press box. And in Philadelphia, we're lucky. I mean, we have so many people covering this team, whether it be people in the local papers, whether it's people doing podcasts, whether it's people that are writing on their blogs, what have you. So many different options for people. And so I still think that the Philadelphia Union fans don't realize how blessed they are. I mean, it blows my mind that you have a successful team like the Columbus Crew, and there's only 3 people that are covering them like you guys in the press box. It's mind blowing. And when you were explaining to me, Ty, that the press box used to be a lot bigger, and then they cut it down and put the premium seating, the suite. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but it's sad. It's like, there should be a lot more coverage for this team. And I'm sure people in the front office would tell you the same thing. The players would tell you the same thing. I mean, this is a fantastic stadium, fantastic location, an easy to get to stadium. I mean, top class. And I know when Jordan Angeli used to be at the club, I love getting to know her, broadcaster with the club, Neil Sika. You have Chris Duran still there with the radio broadcast. I mean, there's so many wonderful people in that organization, so many wonderful people that have come from that organization, and Columbus Crew fans, they have it really good, and it starts with you guys as well.
Todd, well, definitely when we go out there.
Good.
Definitely when we go out there to cover Columbus versus Philly, you have to show us where some better cheesesteak spots are.
Man, I'm not the guy to ask. I live in Maryland, so
yeah, he lives in Maryland. He lives in Maryland. Any good restaurants out in Maryland? If I come to DC, I'll definitely hit you up.
Sounds good.
All right, Todd. Thank you, man. Thanks for jumping on, and I will talk to you soon.
Yep. See you guys.
See ya. So after the Union game, Columbus now are the only team that play, and we also play the New England Revolution. For that game this week, we welcome Thomas Pinzone. Did I say your last name right?
Yeah. Okay. That's close enough anyway.
how do you say it?
If you want to be really it's Pinzone.
Pinzone. Okay. Yeah. Thomas Pinzone from Revolution Recap. How are you, man?
Pretty good. You know, there are lots of other things to live for in this life besides the MLS team that you follow, and that's been that's been a blessing this year. So,
All right. So obviously this game is a makeup game for the Columbus Crew, pretty much, due to I think it was our run in CONCACAF Champions Cup, or was it Leagues Cup? Daryl, if you can remind me, I don't remember. One of those Champions two where Cup. We went Champions Cup. We went really far. Can't remember what happened. We've won a lot of games this year. But obviously we are the only 2 teams that are playing this week. And Columbus coming off of a 3-2 win against the Philadelphia Union. We just had Todd Lewis on, now shifting right into the preview for this weekend's game against the New England Revolution. First of all, I think just a general question in all aspects. What the hell is happening in New England?
I mean, I guess if you're interested in, winning trophies and having a playing style that no one else in MLS can replicate, like you guys have in Columbus. I mean, I'm sure some people enjoy that. But if you're interested in a week by week dumpster fire in which the team finds, new and different ways of losing, with a coach that shifts his narrative on a weekly basis, this is New England is definitely the team to follow. If you want to see how many different ways can this team fall apart, we've pretty much done them all, and it's just been one thing after another all season. And I think the thing that's frustrated fans the most is that that Caleb Porter, talked a pretty big game when he was hired in the offseason, and he hasn't delivered on any of the things that he said he was going to deliver on, and up until recently, hasn't been willing to take any of the blame either. So it's been it's been tough, to be honest. I mean, I don't think anyone really thought this team was a top 3 team or a team that was going to be competing for any trophies this year. But the expectation was at least get in the playoffs. And if you look at, who's going to end up in the 8-9 seed this season, it wasn't going to require some sort of Herculean effort to get there. And we're sat in 14th place, and, be lucky to get any higher.
You touched on something that really resonated, at least with me, and that's Caleb Porter not taking any blame. It happens.
You guys want him back, by the way?
Nope. Nope. We are A-okay. We are just fine with Nancy. But that kind of resonated with me because after watching, was it 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022, and just being around Caleb Porter during those times, he really doesn't take any responsibility. It's kind of a deflection. And
it's always something. It's incredible.
Yeah. But now shifting to the game itself, I mean, is there a positive that can come out of this game, at least for the Revolution?
I mean, no, no, it's just you just gotta get through this game. Actually, okay, I will say this: the one fortunate thing is mostly for Porter himself, that this game was supposed to take place back in May. Because you all made a run in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Our run ended when we came up against a halfway decent team. After we knocked a couple Farmers teams out, and then we came up against an actual strong team, and we went out very quickly, and that was it was actually a pretty embarrassing performance. But this game was supposed to originally been played at a very difficult time for Porter. The team was in last place. I think we only had one win from 8, one win from 9. I mean, he was really teetering. He had recently kind of given out to a reporter for asking a simple question about why a player that played every single game last season hasn't been playing. So I feel like this game getting postponed really kind of bailed him out, because I'm sure the last thing he wanted to do was come back to Columbus with a team in last place and most likely gotten the doors blown off. So I think that's the only positive, that this game hasn't already happened.
I think another positive also is they just have to deal with Cujo Hernandez and Patrick Schulte. So because they're out on international duty. So I was speaking to I think it's Greg, the one of the guys over at Revolution Recap.
Oh yeah, yep.
Because I know it's short notice. I apologize for that. But I also messaged Jake. I can't remember how to pronounce his last name.
Catanese.
Yeah, from the Blazing Musket. Anyway. Yeah, it sounds good. And I think the funniest part of that conversation was, I asked him if he was willing to answer some questions regarding the match for the Crossing the Touchline series from Master Report. And he said, "You mean our CCC makeup game during the international break, where our rosters will be decimated and you're going to roll my scrub ass playoff eliminated team?" And I responded with, "More so like our third string keeper is going to make a dumbass mistake to get sent off again, and we'll have fucking Yao Yaboa play keeper, only to be steamrolled in Caleb Porter's return to Columbus."
I mean, that could happen. Yeah, I mean,
it definitely could happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, unless you want to play, if you want to put the Crew 2 team out there, but even that, I'm sure they could give the Revs a good run at this point. To be honest, it's been rough. No, but Arriaga, Javier Arriaga got called up to his national team. He's we have 2 functional center backs, and he's one of them. So he won't be there. Esmir Baraktarovic is getting called up to the Bosnia-Herzegovina national team now. He's probably been one of the lone bright spots of the season, so he won't be around this weekend. Peyton Miller, who is our 16-year-old left back, who he had. Look, he's a young guy. He's got a lot of talent, but he had 1.5 good games, and the club decided that they were going to trade DeJuan Jones because a 16-year-old had 1.5 good games. So
I just noticed, is that a DeJuan Jones jersey?
Oh yeah. It's not quite. See if I can get it up. See if I get there. It is. Yep. I'm not ready to let it go yet. These things cost $180 each, so you got to get your money's worth.
I just saw that and I said, "Oh, that's a DeJuan Jones jersey." Before we get too deep into this match, what was the feeling like seeing DeJuan Jones not really finally traded, but traded after a second attempt?
To be honest, for him personally, I thought it was great. I was really happy for him that for him in his career, he's got moved into a fantastic team that plays a type of style that nobody else in MLS is even capable of playing. He got thrown right into a Leagues Cup run. He scored a goal 20 seconds after he came on his debut. He scored the 5th round, the winning penalty in one of those knockout games. So I was watching all those games. I've watched almost every single Crew game since he got traded. I've been watching the Crew as much as I can for the last 2 years because they're just playing in a way that no one else in MLS is capable of doing, really. And they're not necessarily doing it by bending the league rules and spending $100 billion on players. You look at like Toronto's got a couple really highly paid, well-known DPs. That hasn't really worked out for him. But yeah, I'm really happy for Jones. He's a great player. He's a good guy in the community. The fans really liked him. He's been a strong, consistent player his whole career. So it's he's going to miss. We are all going to miss him. A lot more than he's going to miss New England for sure.
Joe?
So I saw after I think it was a couple of games ago. I don't know if it was going into halftime or during the match, during the stoppage time. It looked like either Nacho or Carlos Hill was getting into a shoving match. Is that pretty much like how the season, not everybody on the same page?
Oh yeah. There have been so many moments this season where you can just clearly tell that these guys they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. The plan isn't clear. Who's supposed to be going where? Who's supposed to be doing what? It's just been that has been coming for almost the entire season. And honestly, I'm surprised that it took as long as it did. Arriaga in particular, he can be a bit of a hothead. He likes to point and shout and give instructions. Carlos Hill, there's days where Carlos Hill just wakes up angry and is ready to have a go at anyone, at the refs, opposition players. He's been giving out a lot to his teammates this year. So there were plenty of moments leading up to that where when it happened, we were all like, all right, this is a bad look, right? This shows that there's some real serious problems in the team. But I don't think anyone was surprised, which is sad. When your captain is getting into a shoving match with a center back that started the majority of the game since he's come over. That's the last thing that you want to see with a team. It wasn't just a misunderstanding. It wasn't, hey, look, you didn't play me that ball when I wanted it, or, not that type of stuff that happens, in a competitive environment. But again, it's just that type of stuff has been happening all season. They've just not looked on the same page, and it's been a mystery to us trying to figure out, who's responsible. Because again, to go back to Porter, oh my God, I don't know how you guys lasted 4 years with this. If this is how it is for 4 years, there's just no way. Like it's not sustainable. He can't. Everything he says contradicts like the last thing that he said. It's remarkable. And he's talked at times about, when the team basically stops attacking in the second half and sits off and defends and tries to hold on for dear life, he comes out and says, well, that's not the way I want them playing. But they've been playing that way all season since you've been here. So something's gone massively wrong. Either the players aren't listening to you, your messaging isn't coming across in the right way, you're telling us one thing while you're telling the team another. But like, it's just been a mystery for us to try and understand what's going on the whole season.
Now, taking a look into the matchup, I'm looking back at the previous matchup between Columbus and New England. Columbus comes out, wins 5-1 at Gillette Stadium after former crew player Emmanuel Boateng scores in the 9th minute. And then it's just downhill from there for the New England Revolution. Cucho Hernandez gets a goal in the 17th minute. Max Arfson in the 42nd. Diego Rossi in the 45+2. And then Camacho in the 72nd with Steven Moreira in the 80th. Taking into account that matchup with, everything that happened in that game. Because honestly, I think at the beginning, you guys, the Revolution, were the better team. Obviously, getting that goal in the 9th minute very, very well helped the momentum build up for New England. But now coming into this match where we're missing guys, you guys are missing some guys also. What's the plan for that? What do you think the plan for this matchup is? Is it to try and get a result to kind of ease the pain of the season and say, hey, we can go out on a win? Or is it, not go out on one because everybody plays next week, but what's just the game plan here? What do you think the game plan is for this weekend?
I would hope the game plan is to at least come out and try and give Columbus a good game for 60-65 minutes. Mm-hmm. Like, can we get out there and can we press a little bit? Can we try and make things happen? And can we at least give these guys a game? Like, let's not just go out and roll over. And that's not an exciting message to give to the team. That's not an exciting thing to look forward to as a fan on a Saturday night. But you can't really hope for much more than that. There are many times this season where they've done the same thing. They've actually come out and gotten the first goal. They've gotten an early lead, and it's like, all right, we're getting off to a good start. And then it all just fades away. The Revs scored first in the Miami game. Same thing. Packed house, 70,000 people. There's never been 70,000 people there for a soccer game. And the Revs scored early on, and everyone was stunned. And then we lost 4-1 anyway. So, even if we get an early goal, that's the other thing too. Like, if you're the opposition, if you're Columbus on Saturday night, if the Revs get a goal in the first 15 minutes, you just kind of shrug it off. Like, all right. We know what these guys are going to do anyway. If they hold on to this lead, they're going to just defend for dear life in the second half, and we're going to have our way. And the thing I appreciate about the Crew is they for the most part anyway. I've not watched every game. They don't overreact. Something goes wrong, they give up a goal, no problem. Just get the ball and start playing again. I watched a couple of games where they're trying to build out of the back, and sometimes something goes wrong, they give up a goal, and then the announcer on Apple TV, kind of jump with the cliched, oh, that's what happens when you try and play out of the back and all that nonsense. Yeah. But they just keep going. They just shrug it off. So, I think if this game is level in the 70th minute, that's about the best of the Revs can hope for, and they can hang their hat on, hey, these guys are headed places and we're not. So, at least we kept it close at their place. Now, do you want to know what I think is going to happen?
Sure.
I don't know. Let me this way. Our last game, DC United, that was a must-win game. And actually, because Philadelphia lost, you all kind of threw us a lifeline there, and we actually only needed to tie that game. A tie would have made this a meaningful game. We were down 2-0 inside of 8 minutes at home. At home, 44,000 people, down by 2 goals, 8 minutes into the game. Didn't have a shot on target. I think we had 1 shot on target in the first half. That's how this team came out and played in a must-win game at home in front of the biggest crowd of the entire season. So that,
jeez,
yeah, it's tough times over here. Let me tell you.
Jesus
And
Christ.
we know how that was on decision day in 2022 going up against Orlando.
Second year in a row that we missed the playoffs by one goddamn point under Caleb Porter.
And,
It's not a good place
Caleb
to be.
Porter bet his house.
Say it again.
Yeah. Caleb Porter bet his house. He said, "I bet my house we make the playoffs." Here
And
they go
look what
losing
happens.
to
We missed the
Mickey
playoffs by
Mouse.
1 point. So if he makes an outrageous bet like betting his house,
Take it.
Revolution fans better hold him accountable to that.
He did early in the year. He guaranteed a win. He was on a local radio show on the Thursday night, and he said, I guarantee we're going to win this weekend.
That was that Charlotte match. That was that Charlotte match.
Yep. And he tried. The best part is he couldn't even stick to that for 2 days. He tried to walk it back. He was like, "Oh, the club got on all the reporters saying, oh, it was taken out of context. It's like it was a throwaway comment." It's like, no, it wasn't. The guys on the call were done with the call. They had wrapped up, and Caleb came back and said, I guarantee we're going to win on Saturday night. And he couldn't even stand behind that. It's like, come on. They ended up winning the game, so he could have come out and said, well, hey, I'm prepared to try anything to get this season going. And if I have to come out and promise a win on the local sports radio station, then that's what I'm going to do. Couldn't even do that. It's boy, 4 years, huh?
Yeah, it was a long 4 years. Our only glory time during the Porter era was a 3-1 win against Cincinnati in 19 in the 2020 MLS Cup. That's it.
Yeah.
Heading into Saturday. So sorry, go ahead.
Heading into Saturday, it's a big day though for the Crew fans and the organization, as it's Save the Crew Day. So you got the fans and you got the team all pumped for that, because it's the day that they were saved, right? And Caleb Porter and Jonathan Mensah coming back, as well. What's New England got to do to come out and try to play spoiler?
Look, at times they've come out and pressed high up the field and have been able to unsettle their opponent and have been able to make things happen. At times they've also been able to be effective on the counterattack. So I think they've really got to they've really got to pick one of those two things. They've either got to sit in a little bit, with like a medium block or whatever you want to call it, and try and hit on the counter. I think that's their best chance, right? Invite Columbus forward, get them to open up, get Darcy and is it Arson that plays on the left, get them pushed up as high as possible, and then just try and break quickly on the counterattack. As I'm sure Caleb Porter's sustained possession buildup is a complete and total bore, and it's ineffective and it does nothing. So when they get into those moments where they do like Porter's idea of possession soccer is like old school, like Barcelona, like in the Spanish national team, like 2008, like make the field big, spread out. It's all about spacing and gaps, and with the intensity of the team's press now in the modern game, it's not effective. They don't create overload. They don't do what Columbus does. Columbus creates overloads, and if they have to create a 3v2 overload around their penalty area, well, then that's where they do it. If the space to play is the 6-yard box, then that's the space that they play in. Porter's possession he's not prepared to go to those extremes. It's just spread out. Players not coming back to the ball. They don't create overloads. They've got Carlos Hill dropping into the right back possession. It's a total bore to watch. It's ineffective. And when they've gotten away from that and played on the counter, that's the only time that they've done well this season. That's it. I think that's their only chance is try and play on the counter and hope that, Giacomo Veroni, our starting center forward, he's good for a good game once every 2 months. So maybe, he's about due for a good game, because it's been a while.
Okay, this is a good one, because I remember this also. Connor says, how many different formations has Porter played this year? I remember he played 3 in 2022 and it was a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, and a 5-3-2.
The 4-2-3-1 has been the primary formation the entire season.
Of course it is.
Yeah. He does this funny little thing where when they put the lineup out now, like on social media and in the stadium, they don't show the formation. I guess Porter like insists that like you just list it out like by number, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't show the formation because he's gonna unravel some magic trick when the game starts, and then it's like, oh, it's a 4-2-3-1 again. Like
yeah.
Yeah, like I can put a cover on my car every day and walk out to it, but when I take the cover off, it's a Volkswagen Jetta, right? Like it's just that's what it's going to be. He's played a back five a couple times. He's abandoned it. He tried it against Club America in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Hadn't done it all season. Tried it for 45 minutes, didn't work, and he abandoned it. He's brought it back late in games. He's tried to bring in a third center back and kind of shut up shop and play a back five and see games out. That's backfired several times. He tried to play a back three on Saturday night in an attacking way, which was another interesting twist. But it's pretty much been a 4-2-3-1, occasionally a 4-3-3. But it just I don't know. He talks about his making a three line and opening up the field and blah, 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 blah. And every time they win a game, he talks about, we're making progress with our system. And it's like, but no, you're not. Like they had a stretch where they won 5 games out of 6 and they were playing on the counterattack. And he made a point of telling the Apple TV commentators every week, I'm moving this team away from being a transitional team into a positional team. But the only success that we've had is playing as a transition team and playing on the counter. Like his way of doing things has just categorically failed in every single way all season.
Yeah.
So unless he's nervous about getting a result, it'll be a 4-2-3-1. And if it's a back five, you're all going to have a field day.
Greg Barhalter.
I'm kind of excited now that I get to go after work. So there's been a lot of things that have been going wrong with the Revolution. Essentially.
Yeah, just a couple. Yeah.
Has there been anything that's gone right for the New England Revolution this year? And if there has, can we expect to see it Saturday?
Well, Esmir Baraktarovic has had a good season.
Yeah.
He's a really talented player, and I'm sure Porter is anxious to continue to try and make the point that he somehow helped Esmir along with his progress, and he really hasn't. The thing with Esmir is that he really wouldn't be starting under different conditions. Only for Porter's ability to pile up injuries at an incredible rate, which he takes no blame for, by the way. Esmir has played a lot this year, but because Troncolai had season-ending injury. Borrero came back halfway through the season and has been totally ineffective. Noel Buck is a really talented player that can play out on the wing. He's playing for Southampton's under-21s because Porter didn't want to give him a chance. Jack Piniutu, another talented winger who had a good run of games. He's back on loan with the USL team. So Esmir's had a good season. He won't be here this weekend. He's been a bright spot. Al-Hassan Youssef, I'm still trying to get his name down, new center mid that they've brought in during the secondary transfer window. He actually looks like a real talent. He's pretty good. He's sharp on the ball. He makes things happen. He moves the ball forward. He gets, he's good box to box center mid. So he's been a bright spot. They've gotten some of these moves right. But that's really pretty much it. Just little things here and there. Carlos Hill, I've been talking about the Revs for 20 minutes. I haven't brought his name up except for him, getting in fights with his own teammates. I was
going to say something next about that.
He's had a big backslide second half of the season. There's no run away from it. I don't know if it's a matter of he's just frustrated because of the season that the team is having. It could be the beginning of his decline, and hopefully it's not, because he's signed through 2026 with an option for 2027. So if he's starting to get old, and if this is what he is now, if he's 12 goal contribution type player a season, they've got another DP spot, locked up with a declining player. So there's definitely a little bit of concern with Carlos. But Esmir, look, Esmir's been great. Yusef's been great. Peyton Miller, some people are really excited about him. I think he's a good player, but not good enough that you up and trade DeJuan Jones in the middle of the season. I think that was a big mistake. So yeah, there's been a couple little positives here and there.
Okay.
So how has Will Sands been, the usage of him in Porter's system?
He got injured, right? So that's the other thing too. He got injured, pretty soon after coming over here. But he did all right. The thing that we heard from Columbus fans is, look, he's not a fantastic player, but he's not a bad player either. He's just had injury problems. And his opportunities to get chances with the Crew, they just didn't materialize. So he was fine. He's a solid MLS left back. He gets up and down the field well enough. He's a solid defender. His contributions in the attacking third are, they're here and there. Sometimes he can put in a good cross, sometimes he doesn't. He made player of the week for team of the week for 2 assists. He played a ball to Langoni, who then dribbled 25-30 yards all by himself, beat 2 players and smashed the ball past the keeper, and he got an assist. So bit of a weak assist. But no, Sands he's been solid. But again, he's also been injured, and that's kind of been the other thing that's gone on this season. Giacomo Veroni scored 7 goals in 7 games, and then he missed 6 games after that because he got injured. It's just been it's been a tough season with the injury stuff. And Porter, by the way, I don't know if he ever said this when he was Columbus, but Porter said in his introductory press conference that if you're doing things correctly, soft tissue injuries can be prevented. And I think we've had 5 or 6 players get injured during training sessions that Caleb Porter, in theory, oversees. So that's been one of the many interesting narratives that we've had to listen to from Coach Caleb.
I don't know if you guys said something like that, but I do remember a couple players getting injured during training sessions during his 4-year tenure here in Columbus.
Yeah, he thinks that training is like Thunderdome, and like anything, it's just anything goes. Like it's crazy. He was talking about they had a training session where 2 guys had to leave the session with bloody noses. Like it's a positive. Like, yeah, we really got after it today. Yeah, we had a couple guys that were getting bloodied up. It's like, what, in training? Like,
in training,
why are you providing this information publicly? Like, it's just like, oh my God.
Welcome to the UFC.
Yeah.
So Columbus will be without I just had it up. Here we go. Columbus will be without Mo Farsi, Nico Hagan, Patrick Schulte, and Cujo Hernandez, 4 first team players. They're also missing Taha Habrun, who's normally a sub or unused in matches. How can the Revolution capitalize on the absences of, I said, the 3 starters, Schulte, Farsi, and Hernandez?
I mean, Cujo not being there is, obviously it's a plus, right? Because he's got to be considered. If he's not the best player in the league, he's maybe second. I mean, the stuff that he does is it's outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way they can handle him. Whether he's playing high up, whether he's dropping in and opening up space for others, or it's just there's no hope. So maybe it takes the Crew a little while to get going. Maybe Rossi has an off night. Rossi could tear this team apart as well. So unless they want to give him the weekend off, I just think that's, again, that's best case scenario. Crew gets off to a slow start. Maybe Nazi's trying to rotate some players in, just keep guys fresh going into the final stretch of the season, because you all can't be caught for second, correct?
Yeah, we've locked up second place.
So I mean, you've got second locked up. You can't catch Inter Miami. So really, he could just be looking at this as, okay, I'm going to use these last two games just to to get all the guys in the squad some playing time. So maybe Crew takes their foot off the gas and the Revs get lucky. But I mean, you guys still have plenty of. There's more than enough there to pick up 3 points for sure. I mean, Jones doesn't even start. It's breaking my heart, by the way.
He'll definitely start this weekend, 100%.
We've seen Nazi take his foot off the gas.
You said what?
We've seen Nazi take his foot off the gas and heavily rotate a squad in, a 1-0 win in Philly.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like it's
yeah. So now I think we get a better understanding of how the Revs are this season and heading into this match. Thomas, I think we're just gonna kind of round out the show with you if that's all right.
Sure.
You want to give us a prediction?
Yeah, I'm gonna say the Revs. They score early. Yeah, they y'all draw level. It'll be 1-1 at half. They'll get the Crew take the lead in the 65th, 70th minute. Porter will come up with some ridiculous substitution, roll the dice. It'll backfire, and the Crew will win 3-1. And that would be a decent night for the Revs this season. We only lost by 2 goals. But to be honest, for those of us that don't like Caleb Porter, a complete and total demolition in Columbus. Like, I don't even care. I just laughed my ass off all Saturday night if that's what it turns into. Because there's no way that he's looking forward to this trip. There's absolutely no way. Like, if I was a reporter for the Crew, I would have been waiting all season. Caleb, your new team is in 14th place. You want to, can you just elaborate on that for us? Like, oh my God.
I have to talk to the New England PR people, see if I can get into that press conference afterwards.
Don't ask whatever you do. Don't ask about Dave Romney. Very sensitive when people ask about Dave Romney. So,
what about Dave Romney? Is he? Why
is he your best center back?
Oh man!
And there goes your credential.
Yeah. No.
I didn't know it. I didn't know a thing. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Gerald, prediction?
5-0.
Jesus.
I can't even argue.
The thing is with him, he always goes bold predictions.
Sometimes they come true.
Is that bold? Is it really that bold? Like,
I mean, there was, I can't remember what game it was. I think it was last year, early this year. He said, Columbus was going to win 6-1, and we ended up winning like 2-1. I'm like, that's so bold. Like,
that was the Atlanta United first game of the season.
Yeah, 6-1 against Atlanta United, a team who really wanted us to lose because we had our ring ceremony on that game in the beginning of the season. So you said 5-1. You said 5-0, Gerald.
Yep.
I see. I'll be more realistic. I'll go 2-0. I'll go 2-0, and it's just an easy night, quick, easy. Fans are happy that we get to see a win on Fan Appreciation Night, and now we look forward to going over to New Jersey and facing off against the Red Bulls. That's it. That's what I'm doing. I think that's the simple way of putting things, because I don't want to say DeJuan Jones Brayson and just that's just absolutely.
That'd be great, actually. To be honest, like.
Well, DeJuan Jones Brayson, it's just.
I'll have my jersey on backwards. Yeah. Like I'll be ready to go.
And we'll be glad to get you a DeJuan Jones crew jersey.
Oh yeah, look, we're planning on coming to Columbus next season. So
Oh, yeah?
No, we've my wife and I have been to like 4 other MLS stadiums, and we drove through Columbus in the spring going out to Indy. We went to a IndyCar race at the Motor Speedway. And we were like, yeah, actually we should really try, and we were almost going to be able to make it to a game.
Mhm.
But yeah, we want to come back. We want to go to a crew game, check the stadium out, and see what it looks like to watch that team, at home in person.
It's a great time. I will say. Do you have any little ones?
No.
Okay. I was gonna say I would definitely get earplugs because that place gets seriously loud.
Yeah, no, I mean that's kind of what we've seen on on TV. Some people are talking about how we had 44,000 fans on Saturday night. It's like it was 30,000 kids and 15,000 season ticket holders. So it was a lot of people there, not a lot of noise.
Yeah. Manuel, it is New England. What do you mean? It is New England. We do play New England this week. It's kind of said if Jones scores, does he celebrate? I don't think so.
Nah, he's a nice guy. He really, honestly, aside from how good he is as a player, he's genuinely a really good guy. He's really well liked. Whenever they do like these like stuff in the community, he's one of the guys that was like always going out for that stuff. Like the season ticket member events, like always makes himself available. He's a good guy. He won't celebrate. He might laugh, but he won't celebrate.
Yeah, a couple of times I got to talk with him. He's pretty humble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's
great guy.
Like last but not least, before we round out, I know I mentioned this to you, Thomas, and we would get to this bridge when we cross it. So, same thing we did with Todd. Same thing that we always do. So it's a yellow card, red card, and it doesn't have to be soccer related. So essentially, a yellow card would be something you don't like, but you can tolerate, like Chipotle messing up your order for the first time in X amount of years. In this instance, it could be the crew beating New England, just I don't know, whatever it is. But it doesn't have to be soccer related. Red card would be something you absolutely hate, you despise, you can't stand it, you want no part of it.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. The yellow card. I would say the 8-9 playing game. Like I get it. I know why it's there. Like it's there to give one more team a playoff spot. But there's just like, especially now, like what is the point? Right? Like, okay, you get in, you win the 8-9 game, and you've got to play Inter Miami. Like, I mean, I guess it feels nice for a couple of days until you look up the table and go, oh no, we got to play. Oh, like it just it lets one more coach say, I made the playoffs this year. But really, like, do you even want to make the playoffs if you're in 9th place, especially in the Eastern Conference? Like, I don't know how much attention you all pay to the Western Conference, but like the threshold to finish 9th is astoundingly low.
Yeah.
Like there's no need, but I get it. I get it. It's an exciting game in the build up for, like the first round proper or whatever. So that'd be my yellow card. My red card. Well, can I give 2 red cards?
Sure.
All right. My red card is Caleb Porter. To be totally honest, I wasn't really excited when he was named as the head coach. But I thought, well, they should be all right. It's a good roster. How bad can this guy possibly be? Surely they can make the playoffs. 7th, 8th place really shouldn't be out of reach. It's just been, oh God, it's been abysmal. I really find it. Even when he's right, I don't even want to. Like some of the like it's just even when he makes a good point, it's like, nah, I'm not. It must be wrong because he said it. So yeah. I would love to show Caleb Porter a red card. And then the other red card is just kind of sticking with a playoff theme. The 3-game first round, like home, away, like just do what everyone else does, right? Home, away, and add it up. it's almost like they think like Americans can't comprehend what aggregate means. You know, like we're too stupid to add 3 and 1 is 4, and then the other team had 1 and 2, so 4 is 3. I think like it's not complicated. You just add the scores together, and the team with more goals goes to the next round. But this whole convoluted, 3-game series, like they're trying to be like all the other sports in the U.S., but they're still kind of, and then they go back to just a single knockout for for the
rest of the playoffs.
Yeah, so it's 1 game, then 3 games, then 1 game. Yeah, the 3-game series, that needs to be shown a red card.
Okay. Would you rather have Berhalter or Porter?
I would rather have almost anyone.
Other than Porter.
Yeah, I mean,
Josh Wolf.
Yeah, yeah, why not? I mean, honestly, I watched a couple of Austin games last year. I didn't find I wasn't like falling asleep, and I was able to get through those games.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just the style is dreadful. His press conferences are just brutal. He's made bus analogies, like corporation analogies. He made a racing analogy, which I appreciate because I like racing. He contradicts himself from like one sentence to the next. He like walks back everything. It's just, he's just a bore. He really is. And the soccer it's atrocious. So now I know Berhalter was criticized for basically all the same things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, why not? Berhalter, Robin Fraser, Giovanni Savarese, Wolf, anyone that's got fired from anywhere in the last year, let's give them a shot. They can do like some sort of like an audition thing,
Yeah.
just like put somebody in for 4 games, right? Do like no, let's get somebody else in. Do that for a year. That would get some attention.
That would be chairs.
Imagine 8 coaches next year. You get 4 games each, and then the team gets to vote. The season ticket holders get the vote at the end of the year for who comes back for the following year. Why not?
That'd be awesome, honestly.
That'd be
Can't get relegated, so
that'd be cool. Thomas, where can the kind people find you at?
So Revolution Recap, if you want some entertaining podcasting on a team that's having a miserable season, obviously, you guys can't provide that because you have things to look forward to after the end of the season. You can check us out, Revolution Recap, anywhere that you get your podcast from. We're also on Twitter at that same name. I'm on Twitter as well, TPinzone 343. You can check me out on there. I do watch a lot of Crew games, so I'll be latching onto them for the playoffs, and hoping that you all go all the way, second time around. But really, if you're just looking for someone to follow who's miserable with their soccer team, I also follow Tottenham. So if you really want to like double up on being able to feel better about yourself, just follow me on Twitter, because it's all about the Revs and Tottenham, who are never going to win anything ever again, no matter what they do. So
sound like Man United.
We beat Man United. So I mean, but then we turn around and blew a game to Brighton, a week later. So it's
that's true.
Oh God, it's too much. How do you end up a Revs fan and a Spurs fan? By the way, what torturous life do you have to live to end up being fans of both those teams?
You must like absolutely being the laughing stock of something.
True definition of insanity.
Yeah, I know.
There's a couple Arsenal fans in the chat.
I know. There's always Arsenal fans. I know.
Yeah, I know.
I get it. If I was them, I would
just like Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago is perpetually a complete and total waste of everyone's time, so it could be worse. Yeah,
for sure. Cincinnati is a waste of our time. So, that's
you guys are going to handle Cincinnati.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, 2 games or 3.
What's that?
2 games or 3.
2.
2. Yeah, I know.
2. There's no way. They're on the decline. They suck.
Yeah. And when we went to Indy, by the way, we drove through Columbus, but we drove around Cincinnati. So
good.
Yeah.
Good. You don't want to go through there.
No.
Definitely don't want to go through there.
No, but in all seriousness, I really hope you guys go all the way and raise the trophy again. I don't think there's any team that can get in Inter Miami's way except for the Crew. And I really hope that's what comes to fruition. Nancy is got this team on a totally different level. And if you all want to keep him around for 4 years and then send him our way, that would be that would be much appreciated.
I mean, he's already working on year 3 of his 5-year plan already. So
yeah.
Yeah, he is. Thomas, thank you so much for joining us, man. It's been a blast.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. You're welcome back anytime to shoot me a message or shoot us an email. We'll bring you on and we can just talk some footy and have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you very much, and good luck in the playoffs.
Thank you, man. Have a good one.
All right.
Gerald, my friend, we pretty much just had our show, honestly. Good times. Really quick, do you have a yellow card, red card of the week?
My back.
Fair
Now
enough.
my shoulder, and so that's my red card.
I honestly don't have one. So yeah, I think that's it. Great show today.
I got another red card, Drew Fisher.
Fair enough. I think we both give Drew Fisher a red card.
I give him a blue.
Good show. Great show, man. That was fun. Good.
Oh man,
do that. You need to do that again more often.
Tom is a character, I mean, dude, but how can you follow the team that's a dumpster fire and have a positive, and try to be positive?
Yeah. Excuse me. Other than that, I mean, Gerald, where can the people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Gerald_Lucas96. Or if you want to follow me on Facebook, J Lucas. That's about it.
You guys can find me over on Twitter at FisherTyler__. You guys can follow the show on Twitter at Wisemen Pod, on Instagram, the Wisemen Say Podcast, on TikTok at Wisemen Pod. You guys can also listen to us wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, iHeart. You guys can watch us on YouTube, Spotify, Goals TV, Yamo Media app. It's now live. Just go to the App Store, download Yamo Media. And you guys can also interact with us, shoot us messages, whatever content you guys want us to cover. Also check out the link in our pinned tweet. I think that is our link tree. Go there, subscribe to the YouTube channel while you're watching. Check out all the links. At the end of the Spotify description, you can find our supporter link. Any donation is greatly, I was going to say gradually, greatly appreciated. Anything that we make off of the show goes put right back into the show so we can go to away trips, covers hotel, food, gas, any travel expenses. And you guys can also check out our merch store, buy some Wisemen Say merchandise. We will be getting merchandise ourselves so we can flash it and showcase it off also. But other than that, we appreciate you guys so much for tuning in always. Apologies, we haven't had a show in a couple weeks. It's been very busy, especially with college athletics starting for me. But now the playoffs are here. I think we're going to get back into a little bit of a reoccurring stream here. So appreciate you guys once again. We love you guys. Again, you guys can shoot us a message, whatever you guys want to discuss on the show. Also opened up to having anybody, any Crew fans on the show. Just let us know. We'll try to fit you in. And that's it, my friend.
Hot take. Hat trick for Jason.
On Saturday?
A hat. Yes.
For your prediction?
Yes.
Hey, man. By all means. Mano says, peace, guys. Remember, MLS Cup over the Shield, 100%. MLS Cup is more valuable. It also gets you the star on your jersey. The supporter shield is just something that you can say, hey, look, we were the regular season champions, but you're not the champions. John, my friend, it's been fun as always. As tradition goes, Wiseman say.
Only fools rush in.
Peace out, everybody. Have a good week. Stay safe, stay hydrated, stay cool. Hug your loved ones. Go Crew.
Stay wise, y'all.